Recorded. Okay. Get my cursor back. All right. So, hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Oh, man. Okay. I'm going to pull so I can see more of your faces since we have had more join. Okay. Good deal. So here we are. Thanks for coming. Let's just get going. Uh, we are going. This is what we're going to cover today. I always want to give you guys an agenda. Someone is not muted. Oh, I'm going to mute you. Okay. There we go. And this is what we're going to do today. We're going to review the principles of the 12-week year, which we kind of talked about in the meeting, like at the Monday morning meeting. But I'm also going to go like deeper into the book and how it explains it, so that you don't have to read the book if you don't want to. If you want to read the book, obviously there's much more detail that I'm going to cover in like less than 30 minutes, hopefully. But we're going to go over the basic principles so that you've got the drill. And then we're going to discuss what our weekly plan will be going forward and how this is going to actually function for us. And then we're going to share and discuss our goals and tactics. So the first part will be, the first 30 minutes will probably just be like walking through how this is going to work. And I definitely want you guys to like ask questions and interact. These sessions are like so much better when when we're interacting. But then we'll also specifically talk, like yesterday we talked through two specific agents had like goals, but they didn't know how to break them down, or one of them had things they wanted to do, but they didn't know how to articulate the goal, which is interestingly happening more than I realized. So there were little things people want to get done, but they were like, that's just a thing, that's not a goal. So how do we back into what a goal might be around that? So anyway, that's the agenda for the day. Does anyone have any questions before we get going? Does this make sense how we're going to do? It's always going to be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 2. I'm hoping that you, as part of our time, the key to all of this is managing our time, right? Which is like the number one challenge that you guys all have. So my suggestion is, say, I'm going to do this class on Tuesdays at 2, right? And put it in your calendar and put the repeating for the next 11 weeks or whatever with the link, and just say, I'm doing this Tuesdays at 2. And then sometimes if you have something that is important and urgent that comes up, then you can move to Monday or Wednesday. But my recommendation is try to block out a time so that you're not like every week loosey-goosey being like, oh, how am I going to fit this into my week, right? Like pick one and try to plan around it, because this is something that's important to you, but it's not necessarily urgent, right? I mean, I'm not going to be calling you and being like, where were you? These are all like y'all's goals and y'all deciding to do this. We're going to support you, but I'm not chasing after you. So hopefully that makes sense. People are a little bit confused about like when it's happening and when can I come, and you can come anytime. You can come in person, you can come on video. I don't care. My recommendation is you pick one and stick to it, but obviously y'all schedules move. So hopefully that makes sense. Yes?
Yes.
Cool. Okie dokie. Okay, so I mean, obviously, the way that the book starts and the way that we have to get going is before we can talk about like specific goals, they want to remind us that the whole reason, we have individual goals because we have this larger vision. And the book basically says, the best visions balance your personal and your professional lives. No one's like, I mean, we love our job and it's fun and there are things about it we enjoy, but no one's like, my passion is selling houses, right? Like your passion is probably something around your family or your lifestyle or the things you want to do, right? So you have a personal vision for your life and the things you want for your personal life. And then you also have like a professional vision. And generally speaking, your passion for your personal vision is what drives you to execute your professional vision. I think that's fair. I mean, obviously we all love our job and it's very motivating and we're helping people, but at the end of the day, if we win the lottery, we may not work like crazy like we do. We may still want to do this a little bit, but not to the extent. So hopefully that makes sense. So the point here, is basically just be mindful of your vision and what your why is, and like write it down, make a vision board, like put it somewhere where you're looking at it every day, right? To remind you like why you're going to get up and do the work of this program. And then some tips to stay close to your vision, like share it with each other, share it with somebody else, look at it, read it, print it out. The vision board works. It sounds crazy. 6 years ago, Zareen would never have done a vision board, and now I like definitely have one, and it's crazy and it works like insane. And then live with intention, right? You got to be purposeful. So that's my like quick little reminder on that's like our big overarching reason, and stay close to yours because it's going to motivate you when this is tough and not fun. It's going to keep you, it's the passion that's going to fuel you to do the work. Questions? No? Okay. So, what we're going to talk about now is, we're trying to get a goal done in 12 weeks. And 12 weeks is really, at the end of the day, like not a lot of time, right? But the reason that we take our big annual like vision and things we want to accomplish and are breaking them down into 12 weeks goals is because it's not a lot of time, but it's enough time to get some good stuff done. And it allows us to make really like a week by week schedule, which is what we're going to try to do. And also, when we have a week by week schedule, every day when we're presented with things we have to do, we're making decisions about, should I do this or should I do this? And when we are very specific about what we need to get done, like on a daily basis, it will hopefully help us choose this versus that, right? Is this important and urgent to me, or is this important and urgent to someone else, or is this something that I can delegate, or is this a task that, yes, this urgent thing came up, but this is important to me and non-urgent, and I had it scheduled now and I'm going to stick to it so that it gets done, right? Always thinking about my urgent and important matrix. So the task for today that we talked about was writing your goal down and thinking about the tactics that are going to get you there, right? And we're going to talk now to make sure we're on the right track with how we're writing our goals and tactics. So we're going to start with this, and then we can, if anyone has specific questions about theirs, we can talk about it for a little bit, and then we'll revisit all of our goals and tactics at the end of the class. But I just wanted to go through, and this is kind of from the book, the tips for writing your goals and tactics so that you do it in like an effective way, right? So I say write a lot. I've learned this recently. Now that I say it, I'm like, oh my gosh, stop saying that. Now you're going to hear it and I should never have mentioned it. So, for the first one, we've all heard of SMART goals. Like make your goal and your tactics like specific and measurable. So, quantify and qualify exactly what hitting your goal looks like and be specific on exactly what your tactics are. So don't just be like, I'm going to do real estate reviews. No, it's like, I'm going to do 2 real estate reviews a week, or don't say I'm going to work out more. No, I'm going to work out, 5 times a week or 4 times a week, or run 3 miles, or I need to make $20,000 or whatever it is. Like be specific so that we can measure it. We're going to talk about measuring in a little bit. And then like state your goals in the positive. So focus on what you want to happen. Like I want a 100% listing presentation success rate, not I don't want to lose any more listing presentations, right? So state them in the positive. Then this is a good one, and we talked about this one for a little bit yesterday. Ensure that your goals are a realistic stretch. So you don't want to be like, oh, I already have this system and I already do all of these things, so I'm just going to like type it up and I did it. Like make it stretch, like make it hard, but don't make it so hard that you're discouraged and you're not going to get there, right? Doing 5 real estate reviews a week is realistic. Doing a real estate review for all 200 people in your database is not realistic. So figure out what's realistic. The best goal is, enough of a stretch that you're going to have to really like deliver your best work, right? But you're not going to be like overwhelmed and like, I can never do this. Especially if you have that mindset, you definitely cannot do it. Any questions about that? The next one is assign accountability. And this is really for teams, like if you have a shared goal with someone else. But really what this comes down for you guys is making the commitment, like be accountable to yourself. Because we are going to call these accountability meetings, but it's not because you're being accountable to me or Susan's accountable to Jennifer. Like we're all showing up to be accountable to ourselves. So commit, right? And then the last one is be time bound. Think about what you're doing every day, right? And like we talked about the rule of 5, those are 5 things they know they can do every day. We're going to break it down into weeks here. When we're creating our goals and tactics, Canfield breaks it down like day by day. So just be time bound as you write these things down. And in that sheet that I sent you, it kind of says like, I'm going to do 2 real estates, and then it's how often, like every week or in weeks, 2, 4, 6, 8, whatever it is. So does that make sense? I mean, pretty clear. So does anyone have, and I put this in here now so that we can kind of refer to it throughout the class, but does anyone have a goal or a tactic that they want to talk about, or that we can just start like brainstorming for? Just a couple of examples. Anyone want to share one? I'm going to, just for this, I will say this here. I have later on, I'm going to show you exactly what my 2 goals look like and how they're laid out. And I showed them yesterday and the agents were laughing at me. So, but it was laughing out of love. So we're in the trust tree here. This is going to help so much if we're sharing with each other and are interacting. So hopefully you guys will get to know each other and be like a support group for each other too. But does anyone have a goal that they want to share at home? We can hear it. Or Jana?
Okay, well, I've been so busy with buyers. My listing presentation is kind of gone by the wayside. I need to really tweak it, define it, and have it ready to go.
Okay, awesome. So Jana says she's been so busy with buyers that she feels like distant from her listing presentation and she feels like it's devolved somewhat. So what she really wants to do is focus on getting her listing presentation back into like tip-top shape so that if she got the phone call to show up tomorrow, she'd be ready to go, which I love. That's an awesome one. I love like being prepared in advance because you're also putting out the energy to the universe that like you're ready for listings and they'll come to you, right?
Yeah, right.
It's good. Okay, that's a good one. Who else has one? Jesse?
Yeah, I actually kind of need help with it a little bit because it's so general that I can't measure it. It's just to be more organized / motivated in life. And I don't even know how to measure that. So,
Okay. So what would it look like if you were more organized? Like what is a function of your life right now that is a result of you not being organized?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, like, so if you want to be more organized, there's like something happening in your life right now that is a manifestation of you not being organized, right? So it's like, I'm always late because I can never find my keys, or I'm always late in general, or, you know, what's a manifestation of you not being organized or motivated?
A lot of things going on at the same time. Not really
Too many
like,
things.
I'm never late to anything. It's more of like a lot of things mentally. I think it's a lot of things that are going on stressfully
So you need
all
a
at once.
process for like organizing everything that you have going on, it sounds like, right?
More stuff that I have, the less motivation. So like if I have, for example, let's just say phone duty, and then I have a listing appointment, then you're not really putting 100% in each. I'm not really putting 100% of energy in each one. I'm kind of like divvying up the energy that I have for each one. So kind of a way to like organize it and make sure I'm motivated 100% for each individual thing in life.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like maybe your thing is that you have like too many priorities too. So why don't you and I can sit down and kind of talk through and make some lists of like all the things that you feel like you have going on and all the ways that you feel like you're not organized, and then we can kind of back into it that way. And sometimes so when we start defining tactics, like the goal becomes clear. But that's a hard one because it's nebulous, but it's such a good goal is to like be more organized and feel less overwhelmed, right? Yeah. And I mean, maybe your manifestation of that is that you can't sleep at night, or you know, get up in the morning at 4 and can't go back to bed, or whatever it is. Like think about what the manifestations are, because whatever that is could be the goal. Like my goal is to, sleep 8 hours a night without waking up in a panic, whatever. And then what are the tactics to get there? And that'll be like organizing yourself. So, but that's a good one.
Achievable goal.
It has to be. Susan says she thought that had to be achievable, and that seems unrealistic in this market, which is fair. Very true. Okay, well, thank you for sharing. Does anyone else have one they want to share? We're going to talk about this more later.
So I have a couple, and it's kind of like evolving.
Okay.
Because,
Okay, Laura's going to tell us a couple here.
well, one is my financial goal, which I'm not going to say that one.
Okay,
Because,
she has a financial goal.
and then I'm reading the How to Generate Referrals Without Asking book.
She's reading How to Generate Referrals Without Asking. Okay,
So that's going to be a work in progress. So I'm going to create that plan. So that's going to kind of
finish the book and then follow from there.
Yes.
Okay,
And then I also want to create a habit of reading sales books.
okay.
I just think that'll get me more focused.
She wants to start a habit of reading sales books. So maybe it's like read 20 minutes a day.
30.
30 minutes a day. Okay. All right. So you already have some tactics in place. That's good. Okay, that's good. So let's talk about this is something, if you guys are sitting there and you have some goals and some tactics already broken down, it's really a question of like, how are we feeling about this, right? And Jesse, we're going to have to clearly define yours and get you a little bit more organized, but we'll get there. We can do that. The question is, as you're thinking about doing this, and I'm curious if you are already feeling this way, like, do you already know like what you're going to struggle with in your tactics? And like, do you already know what's going to be hard for you? And if so, like, let's think now while we still have energy and are excited about what we will do to overcome those struggles, right? So then another one is, are you owning your goal? Like, do you believe that you can reach the goal? Laura, I felt like I feel a little bit of hesitation from you. So you got to believe, right? Because if you're telling yourself that this is unrealistic, like, it's just not going to have the right energy, and your mindset is not going to be right to really make it happen. So own your goal and believe that you can reach it, right? That's a big one. And then, are you feeling like there's things about this program that aren't going to work for you already? Because if so, like, let's eliminate those doubts. And this is a little bit nebulous, so do you guys, what is your reaction to this? Does anyone have thoughts when you're looking at this? My point is to kind of troubleshoot in advance the things we're going to do to defeat ourselves, so that we can be aware of them, so that when they start happening, we can be like, nope, I already have a plan to make this stop. Does anyone have thoughts there? Does this make sense? Jana's got one.
I'm thinking in my own little world that I just need to block off some time to work specifically on this. Don't do anything else.
Mm-hmm. So she's saying she already knows that she needs to block off the time to work specifically on her listing process and not do anything else, which is exactly right. I mean, this is all of these goals that we have are things that are important but not urgent, which is why they keep getting pushed to the side. Donna, did you have something to say?
Yes, I have. First of all, I can't get my video to come on, and I've looked at all my settings. I don't know what's wrong, but I've always had a problem because I always have so many things that I want to accomplish that the one thing I did was say, okay, take something really simple personally and work through it and list your tactics or come up with what your tactics are. So I did one just because we have a wedding coming up, and I just would lose weight and gain weight, lose weight and gain weight. And I only want to lose about 10 pounds, and I'm not fat or anything. So I've had a Peloton that I got for Christmas, and I haven't been on it but one time. I couldn't even program it. So I set a goal of myself, and going into the personal and working through what we're going to be doing, I think it's going to help me be able to set other goals and then be able to know how to break them down. Am I on the right track?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we're talking about doing here, is that you just said you have so many goals, it's like hard to keep track of them and stay on top of them. And the point here is to not have so many goals, pick one or two and be really focused on it, right? So you're on exactly the right track.
So
Yeah.
one personal and one professional, and just make it simple for
Yes.
the first one so that I can experience and get positive feedback for myself from what I do, from the
Yes.
results, and then I
Yes.
can move on from there.
Yeah, and I mean, I have one personal and one work, and obviously I have other work going on. This is not the only thing I'm going to be doing, but the reason that we're specifically writing these goals down is that it's something that we know we want to get done. It's important to us, but it keeps getting backburnered or like pushed to the side because other work is getting in its way, right?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
why we're picking one goal that's important to us, but not necessarily urgent, and focusing on it.
Okay.
So, but yeah, you're on the right track. Yes.
Good. Thanks.
Zareen, this is
Hi.
Laura.
Hi, Laura.
Hey, well, isn't it also what you're just talking about and what Donna just echoed, also kind of by doing the 12-week and identifying, you become creating the atomic habits, or you're layering the habits. So in other
Yep.
words, by doing the 12 weeks, and let's just use Donna's example for a moment, and I'm just asking for clarification, but that she said she wanted to lose 10 pounds. She hadn't been on the Peloton, so that in this 12 weeks that she accomplishes being on the Peloton, let's just be hypothetical, 3 times a week. But then when she finishes that 12 weeks, she doesn't quit the Peloton. she continues the Peloton, but now adds a new 12-week goal. So it's a layering on, as in what the Atomic Habits discuss.
Yes, that's exactly right. And I mean, I think, you know, if she has a wedding date happening in, say, the beginning of December and her goal is to lose 10 pounds, I wouldn't have the Peloton be the only tactic. That's like one tactic, right? But she might have additional tactics. And yeah, habit stacking, like you're talking about, if you guys haven't read Atomic Habits, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. It's just such a good mindset book about like doing things better and more efficiently and making your life easier, honestly, is what that's about. So this is a quote from actually the guy that wrote Atomic Habits. So thank you, Laura, for this segue. James Clear, who's an awesome Instagram follow, and his newsletter is my favorite newsletter. If you want a significant change in your results, which is why we're here, right? Then you probably need a significant change to your strategy. So working harder on your current strategy is probably not going to move the needle. There's a reason we're all here, like attracted to trying something different, even if you're like in this 30-minute meeting or this is dumb or I'm skeptical, which I hope you're not, but you might be. Like, you got to do something different than what you're doing. So hats off to you guys for being here, right? So before you just work harder on what you're doing, make sure that you're working on the right thing. And that's why we're taking this time right now and this week to make sure that we have like a pretty clear plan. Is it going to be a perfect plan? No. But is at least a good plan for us to stick through and follow through on? Yes. So, you know, play better games, win better prizes. Sorry, that's still a typo that I haven't fixed. Win better prizes. So I just like that quote. Like, if you don't change how you're currently spending your time and decide, make that commitment, like nothing's really going to change here, right? And I hear from agents all the time, like I've been doing a lot of one-on-one coaching this year, just working with agents to help them. And they're like, oh, I'm so busy. Like, I have 16 listings. Like, I can't, like, well, you're meeting with me because you want to change something, but then you're too busy to make any changes. So you're choosing that, which is fine. If that's your bandwidth and that's all you can do, then that's okay. But you're choosing that, right? So the quote is, whatever you are not changing, you are choosing, which I think is important, right? So if you want to do something different or to get things done differently, like let's mix it up and try a different way of doing it. Any questions there? No. Okay, so now we're going to talk about what does our weekly routine look like as a group and kind of individually. So as a group, this is what our weekly routine is going to look like. We're going to score ourselves based on how many of our tasks we completed, and I'm going to go through these in greater detail. We're going to come up with a plan for the week of all the things we need to do, and then we're going to participate in one of these meetings, which the book calls WAMs, weekly accountability meetings. And I'm going to send you, so those are the 3 steps. And obviously there's more than 3 steps because you're actually having to do the work, but you're going to score your week to see how you did. You're going to plan your week to lay out what you need to do. And then you're going to participate in one of these meetings just to make it your glue of like committing to this process, right? So the first one, scoring your week, I'll send you guys a weekly scorecard. It's a PDF, so you can print it and handwrite on it, or you can just save it to your desktop or something and fill out, you're going to give yourself a scorecard and calculate your success rate. So you're going to figure out the number of tactics that you had planned for the week. And then you're going to count the number of tactics, that's a hard one for me today, that you actually completed. And then you're going to figure out what percentage completion rate you did. You're going to, take the number you were supposed to do, the number you did divided by the number you were supposed to do times 100. And this formula will be at the bottom of the scorecard. So if you're not good at math or percentages, do not sweat. So you're gonna be able to see, like, I did 10% of my tactics this week. I obviously was not focused and dedicated to this goal, or I did 85% or 90%, like I'm on a really good path, or, it might be like you only got 65% done. And I don't want you guys to beat yourself up about that, because 65% is closer. It's moving you closer to your goal. So that may be what you have the bandwidth to do. But I think when I first read about this, And I read a lot of business books, and a lot of times I'm like, oh, this is good, but I'm like, this piece is garbage and I'm skipping it. This one I was like, I don't know about scorekeeping. Like, that seems like really menial. But I will tell you, when I read why they were wanting us to do it, it made more sense. And basically, it's because actual keeping score and like doing this calculation and counting out how I had 37 things I was supposed to do and I did 25 of them. It helps you embrace measurement in general, which is something as an agent you should be doing. Like, you should be tracking your conversion rate. You should know at the end of the year, I went on 18 listing presentations and I got 18 listings, or I went on 18 listing presentations and I got 9 listings, right? Because that can help us lay out. There's a lot of things in real estate that, as professionals like you guys are performing at the elite level that you guys perform at, you should be tracking. And so measuring something like this is a good step to like start tracking thing. Another thing about it is that it's super honest. Like, tracking doesn't care if you had a lot of distractions or it was your birthday or, you know, something came up. Like, there's no excuses built into this. It's numbers. It's this number compared to this number, right? So you can't fluff around it. It's just a number. So that's one awesome thing about it. It's just very specific and clear and non-manipulatable. The other piece about doing this tracking is that it helps you focus on your actions, right? Like, each one of those tasks is an action you were supposed to do. So it's focusing on our actions. And we know from Ninja, you know, our thoughts become our actions and our actions become our results. So actions drive results. And if we focus on these actions every week and we get 100% or 90%, we are going to get to the result, right? So this is not a step that I want you to skip. And when we meet together every week, we will probably just go around and share how we did. And I can already tell you, since I started mine yesterday, that I did not have a great night last night on some of my goals, and I'm not having a great day today on some of my goals, and it might not be very good this week, but that's just what it is, and I will share that with you guys, right? But I think it will help us know what our numbers are. So that's the first step, is that you kind of score your week at the end of every week. The second step, well, these are kind of reversed, but this is how the book presents it. You plan your week, right? And so every week we're gonna come up with this plan at the start, right? Where we have laid out what is our goal and what are all of our tactics over the next 12 weeks we're gonna do to achieve that goal. And then every week we're gonna look and say, what are the things I need to be doing this week? And we're either gonna put them in our calendar, or we're gonna put them on our to-do list, or we're gonna do all of the above. We might have to block out time, like to Jenna's point, if she needs to set a time to watch the listing process class, and then a time to meet with agent services, she may have to block these times out. She's going to do that at the beginning of the week. So you plan your week and you know what the tactics are you're going to get done this week. So let's talk about pitfalls. So, or things you should do and things you shouldn't do. So, you know, you must make your weekly plan. If you don't have a weekly plan, you're just it's kind of like Jesse said, you have a lot to do and you're just kind of feeling overwhelmed, so you don't do any of it. But like, make a plan for your week and be specific, and then stick to it. Then when you make this plan, do not put all the other things you have to do for your job. Like, this 12-week year and this goal is its own little thing, and it gets its own little sticky note or its own color in your calendar, or whatever, however you keep track of your tasks. It gets its own note on your iPhone, or at least its own little subsection. Don't include every business task in your plan. Your weekly plan should be just your tactics, right? Because that's how you're going to calculate and measure. Don't assume every week is the same. Like, your weeks will probably be different, unless it's like maybe in Donna's example, where she's like, if it's I want to lose weight and she has 5 weekly tactics, and it's eat this much, exercise this much, drink this much water, or whatever they are. Her weeks may all be the same, but for business and for other goals like that, your week will probably be different. So you do need a plan every week. Then, you know, don't keep adding new tactics, because then things are getting muddy. Like, let's make a plan right now and stick to it, right? Even if it's not perfect. That quote on one of our last slides said, like, a good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. Just do what you've planned, and you're going to move yourself farther along. You might have to add a tactic once you get down the line and you see, but it's not something that you should be adding tactics every week. Like, let's think it through now so we don't have to do that, okay? And then, you know, use your plan to guide your day. goes back to time blocking. Prioritize all of these important but non-urgent tactics, right? Put it on your calendar and plan around it. That's just an important one. And then, make your steps and your tactics part of your daily routine. So once you figure out what you're supposed to be doing, like put them into your routine and work around it with everything else. So that's kind of the planning your week component. And you're going to spend a little bit of time either, Sunday evening or Monday morning or Friday afternoon or whenever it is for you that you feel like your week kind of restarts. Do it then. Do it the 30 minutes before the Monday morning meeting, right? Get up and make sure you're at your desk by 8 so that you can like plan for that time for what the rest of the week is gonna look like. But pick a time and stick to it. That's what I would do. And same time every week. So any questions there? Are we feeling overwhelmed? I felt a little bit overwhelmed when I sat down to like write my goal and break it down. I was like, this is hard. But that's why we're here to talk about this today. And even if it takes you this week and a little bit of next week or whatever to get your plan really laid out, like that's okay. It's good we just need to have a good plan. So the weekly accountability meetings are pretty straightforward. We're going to do individual report outs. Like I said, we're going to talk about like how we did, right? What was our score? We're going to discuss what was successful for us and what was not successful for us, what was hard, and just encouragement, right? So we're just coming back together. I mean, what we're going to do, we're trying to tackle whatever it is on our list that has been hard for us to tackle, which is why we made it our goal. So it'll be hard, but Jim Miller says easy doesn't pay, which is right? Easy doesn't pay off. So if you want to make changes, you have to do hard things. So the purpose of these meetings is to, confront where we're breaking down, recognize our progress, create focus around what we're doing, and then encourage action. So that's the plan of these meetings, and they will not be long. Like I said, if there's content like this, we'll try to keep it short and at the beginning, and then we'll be sticking around and kind of sharing with each other. And I do think yesterday we had such a good session where the agents were like really helpful to each other, I thought. So you guys teach each other the best. So I think that will be a good plan. I loved that quote. Accountability is the glue that bonds commitment to results, right? So important. So any questions here? Is this all making sense? Like, how are we feeling? I'm getting nods, but not nods and smiles, which is usually a better indicator, guys. But that's okay. Seems
Doreen,
overwhelming. Yes?
could you give an example of filling out that chart?
Yes, we are going to get there.
Okay.
I will show you. Is that Susan? Where did that chart go?
Margaret.
Actually? Oh,
Margaret.
Margaret. Okay. Yeah, I will. We're going to get there. Okay. So it's on here. I wanted to go through the plan first, and then we're going to specifically talk about it, and I'll show you mine, and then you can show me yours. Okay. So this is a quote, my friend James Clear, and I think it's so appropriate for what we're talking about with this 12-week year program. Without hard work, a great strategy remains a dream. Without great strategy, hard work becomes a nightmare. And what I see with agents that are like working so hard and so fast and so furious, I see so many agents stuck in the second one because they're so busy like spinning the plates and staying busy and taking care of people that they don't have time to like strategically figure out how to make their life better, more efficient, so if you have 16 listings, that's a lot to deal with, and that's unrealistic. If you have 4 listings, like that's a lot of listings to deal with. If you stopped and maybe spent 2 hours creating a process, you might have to spend half of the time on each of those, right? If you have to write the same email, this happened to me when I was a first-time manager. I had to write the same email so many times. I finally was like, why don't I create a folder of email templates? And it like was such a game changer, right? It was like very like baby steps towards like becoming a thinking person. But I see you guys get stuck there. And I heard a great quote about, it's not about spinning plates, it's about juggling balls. It's like the key to juggling a lot of balls is knowing which balls are made of glass and which balls are made of rubber, right? So it's just a good way of thinking about like all of the things you have on your plate and the tasks and the things that really need to be addressed and the things that like it's okay if they're going to drop because they're going to bounce and you can pick it up. So the point of this slide is really to tell you guys like this this plan. Like I said, I got lots of nods, but not that many nods and smiles, which makes me feel like you guys are feeling overwhelmed. The plan isn't magic, right? It's just an execution system to take a goal, break it down into tactics and steps, make a weekly plan to execute those tactics, and then stick to that weekly plan every week and every day. It's just breaking it down. But you have to commit to spending the time in doing this. There's nothing about this little meeting that's going to make a difference, right? Other than giving you some ideas of how to frame work. And you're here for a reason. There's something that you wanted to get done that you're not currently able to, the way that you're running your business or executing your life or however you call it. So, to get different results, you're going to have to do things differently and do different things. So I will tell you now, I know as agents, you're so busy and you're taking care of people and life and school and kids and all the things. But what she was saying, one of the agents was saying yesterday that Brene Brown has a saying in her like podcast and the thing she teaches is like, no points for busy, right? Like that. Everyone's busy, like no points for busy. So I'm telling you that with love, that if I hear excuses, because I've seen this a lot this year, like working one-on-one with agents, where you make a plan and then you're like, let's meet in 2 weeks, and you get that done, and then you come back and like nothing's done, and there's like all these excuses, and it's like, I don't need excuses. Like, you chose that over that, and that's fine. Sometimes you are going to have to choose that over that because you do have that many listings or that many buyers, but just you're choosing that, right? So I will call you out if you're making excuses, and no points for busy, which I thought was so good, because we're all like, oh, I'm so busy, but we are all so busy. Like y'all are so busy. I acknowledge that. It's just a function of choosing how you spend your time. So I'll get off my soapbox. To summarize, and then we'll go over to actual goals and tactics, and I'll show you guys mine. Plan your week every week. Know what your plan's going to be and what your tactics are. And know what that, denominator number is. Know, like, man, I have 20 tactics that I need to get done this week, or I have 4 big tactics that I need to get done this week, right, on my to-do list. Just know that bottom number, so at the end of the week, and be like, I got all 4 done, or I got 3 out of 4 done, or I got 0 out of 4 done because, wow, that was a crazy week, or whatever, right? Plan your week, know your tactics, then score your week, and then come to this meeting and talk about it so we can hopefully, help each other. Love this. Key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but schedule your priorities. So hopefully your goal that you're choosing is your priority. Okay, so now let's talk about our actual goals and tactics. That was a little bit longer than 30 minutes, and I won't usually talk that long, I promise. So I want nods and smiles. So don't not come back because you think I'm going to talk that much every time. I won't, but I just wanted to walk you through. I basically just gave you a book report, right? Reading the book is awesome if you're a reader and you want to, but you don't necessarily need to. And if you have specific questions about it, come to me and we can talk through it together about what the book says. So here are I did 2 goals for myself, and one is a health goal and one is a work goal. And obviously, okay, we'll start with the health goal. So my goal, and I had a hard time figuring out how to make this one measurable, because my goal is to, there's a few different things I've been wanting to do, and I know I have all of these like wellness steps that I don't do, that I know I should do every day, and I'm just not taking the time to do it because I'm rushing. So I'm like, I'm going to make my goal. I have this Oura ring, which was my birthday present that I really wanted for a long time, because I like to treat my body like a little science experiment and track everything, and it gives you scores. And so my goal became focus on my health and achieve this average readiness score of over 90, which is pretty hard to do. I think mine's like 80, it's in the 80s right now. And last night I slept like 5 hours and it was like 60 something. So getting an average of above 90 is going to be hard, but I think if I do all of these things, I would get to that score, but more importantly, just be in a much better place. So then I broke down, these are things that I need to do like every day, right? For the most part, I need to sleep. I need to take my supplements. I need to exercise, and I only like the really hot, sweaty kind of yoga, and I'm not supposed to be doing that right now. So I have to like force myself to do like easy mirror yoga, which is fine. Do my meditations. Don't drink more than once a week. That's a hard one. I count my macros, right? And counting my macros. Janice says, drinking once a week is not a realistic goal, which is fair. I count my macros, so I'm going to try to hit my macro goal 6 days a week, because obviously there's that one day a week where, like, you know, the wheels fall off, and that's fine because that's life and that's going to keep me happy. You know, do my gratitudes and affirmations. I'm really good about gratitudes. I'm not as good about affirmations every day. You know, dry brushing, that's the one that Rachel laughed at me about yesterday, but whatever, it's really good for you. Then go to acupuncture once a month, and try to be dairy free 3 days. These are my goals. I think it will get there. So that's how I broke that
dry
down.
brushing? What is
This is I you know what? I almost put a slide in here of like a picture of a dry brush, because we had like an extensive conversation about it yesterday. It's basically like a loofah, but like when you're dry, and it like gets your body flowing, and it's supposed to be really good for you. It's very goopy. Goop sells a dry brush for like some ridiculous price, but you can get one on Amazon for like $10. So
Very
it's
good
just
for lymphatic circulation, Susan.
Thank you. There you go. Exactly.
You're
We're
welcome.
gonna get that score over 90, guys. Stay tuned. Stay tuned right here. Okay, so that one's like a health one, and you can see that one's like every week, right? And that's a lot of things. One of the questions that I had was like, what the agent was like, well, what if you get your macros like 4 out of the 6 times a week? Do you get partial credit, or do you totally not give yourself, is that 1 task or is that 6 tasks? And I said, that's totally up to you how you want to like do the math. I'm going to try to say you either did it or you didn't do it. So like that's harder, right? Versus like breaking it down and being like each one is a point. So that was a question that came up yesterday. So then let's talk about my work goal. So I recently became like CE approved, so that when I offer you guys a class, you can get an hour of credit for it. But you have to get every individual class approved. So right now I have 4 approved, and my goal is to have 10 classes approved by the end of this 12 weeks, and also to teach 2 of them. Because once you have them approved, then the next step is you only have to get the outline approved. Then the next step is you actually have to build the PowerPoint, and then you have to go through all of these steps to like make sure that when you guys apply for credit, you get the credit. There's all these like back end steps, and I know what it is. I haven't done it, so I have to. That's one of my tactics. So my tactics are, I'm hearing someone talking, but only a little bit. So my tactics are, you know, decide which classes I want to submit. I'm going to do business planning 1 and 2, and then I have a financing class, and I'm not sure what the other ones are going to be. Maybe I have the time blocking one approved already. Anyway, I'm going to summarize 2 classes per week to submit and submit them to Trek. And those are on weeks 2, 3, and 4. So I want to get the submission like out of the way, because of course Trek is a little bit slow. So we're going to get those submitted up front. And then I'm going to, once those are submitted, I'm going to go ahead and finalize and present a presentation, right? So I have to get the PowerPoint ready. I have to actually do that. And then I need to figure out what are the steps to get it submitted for CE approval for you guys, like I was just talking about. And then I need to actually teach the class, and I'm going to do that at the end. So hopefully this is like a time-bound plan that when I get to weeks 8 and weeks 12, like everything's submitted, they're on the path to approval, I have one scheduled to teach, and like I will have reached that goal. And this is something that I've been wanting to do since the beginning of the year. And I've like slowly over the course of the year, I've gotten 4 approved. So to get 6 more in 12 weeks is a challenge, but it's also something that I just need to devote my attention to. And by making that my goal, like my attention will be on it, right? So hopefully seeing those helps a little bit. I will tell you, so one big thing about doing this in general is that this is a thinking project, right? You're not just going to be able to sit down and write your goals and break it down into tactics in 10 minutes. Like you're going to have to really think about, this is a big, hard goal. You're going to have to break it down and think about it and have ideas. So you may need another week to think and like break it down and talk it over with me or your manager or your friends or your husband or whoever. You may need some time. And, you know, the key is in thinking about it and coming up with a really good plan. So hopefully that helps to see. Does anyone want to talk about, that's all I got. Does anyone have questions about this specifically? Does it make sense? This is hard, so I don't want you guys to feel like you're not able to do it and you're behind, because you're not. This is a hard thing. It's a thinking thing. Like that's why I've said I've had multiple conversations with agents this week that are like, can we just hash this out? And I'm like, yeah, sure, let's talk through it. So don't be shy to do that. I'm going to end the show. Yeah.
Doreen, I have a question
Yeah.
for you.
Uh-huh.
And I'm kind of like a lot of other people. I've got some goals.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some big goals and some small goals, but if I list all my goals on here, I'm going to get drowned out. I mean, should we
Right.
limit this to like 1, 2, 3 kind of big goals, or
Yeah, I
is
mean,
there
I
some
don't-
guidance there?
I don't want you, that's the whole point, is that we don't want you to get drowned out and then do none of it. So I would pick one goal and maybe 2 goals. For me, I have one real goal, which is the CE stuff. The health stuff is, it's totally separate, right? They're not related. I wouldn't pick more than one work goal is
Okay.
my recommendation, especially right now where we're still figuring out like how are we going to do this, because I don't want you to be overwhelmed by the process. I want you to be able to really focus on this goal so that the process is easy, and to have 2 like big work goals might be hard. And I know you have a lot, so you're like, man, to only focus on one for 12 weeks. But I mean, if you're how many of your goals did you get done in the last 12 weeks, right? By trying to focus on all of them? Probably none. So I would pick one. You may have more than one, or maybe many, or we can maybe back into your goal if you have a few things you want to talk to. And you may have just tactics that you want to fit into your goal, Clay. But that's a good question. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the show so that we can see each other. Maybe. So I'm going to stop the share. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. So now you guys at home should be looking at all the faces. Is that right? And we here, this is what I did yesterday, and it was moderately successful. Okay. Can you see? Okay, there, now you can see my South Lake group, and y'all can still hear me, right? Okay, cool. So does anyone have a goal that they want to talk about?
I'll talk
Allie?
about yeah.
Yeah.
So I've like limited one to a personal one and then a professional one.
Mm-hmm.
So my professional one, I want to get 2 new listings and 3 new buyers.
Love it.
And then my second goal is I've been working on a children's book for like a year and a half. A while now. And it's almost done, but it's still just like a couple things. And so I just want to get it published. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then that one's kind of hard because at this point, a lot of those things are like out of my control. So that's kind of an interesting like tactic perspective.
Well, so, and this is, I love that you brought that up. So like one of your goals may be to be on the D best list, but that's not something in our control. You can still make that a goal and then be like, what are all of the tactics that would get me on the D best list, right? So if your goal is to get your book published, what are all of the tactics that would get you there? And maybe your goal is just to get your book submitted for publishing, right? Because you can't control the publishing piece, but you can control the piece where you like hand it off or send it off to however you're going to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I love those. That's cool, and I want to read your children's book. So get it submitted for publishing, or get it published, or do all the steps that you can do, right?
Right.
So have you broken both of those? And here's the deal, guys. Those are 2 big goals. I know she said one was personal and one was work, but those are kind of like both work, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I don't want you to feel like you have to have a personal and a professional, or even that you have to have a professional. You may just have a personal one, right? And that's okay. So there's no like rules on what the goals need to be. I just wanted to show you 2 examples. And Allie has like 2 big goals here, but I think that she just needs to make a plan and break it down into tactics and then stay really super focused on it. So have you broken them down into tactics?
Yeah, I love thinking of it. I've never broken a goal down into tactics before, like this clearly, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So it's kind of awesome, and it's also kind of like, oh no, there are like a lot of tactics.
It's a lot of work to do, right?
Yeah, but it's interesting though, because it does, it kind of calms you down when you can just see it. Then it just kind of in your head, you know?
Yeah. And also, like, if there's, and someone asked me this over email, is that, do I have to have 12? Because in that sheet that I sent you guys where the goal is at the top, then there were 12 blanks. you don't have to have 12 tactics. You might have 4 tactics, you might have 16 tactics, right? Because the tactics may be really small, but they may be important. So there's no number of tactics that you should have. But I think, Allie, to get your goals done, like taking the time to really break down like every step of that like book publishing process and then laying it out on weeks, 2 through 12 will get you much closer, right?
Yeah.
Even if you missed a step or it's not perfect, at least it's closer.
Right.
Yeah. So do you want to talk through your tactics on your work goal, or you feel good about it?
The work goal, it is sometimes I truly feel like when I'm wanting more work, if I just get back to my Ninja, then it finds me.
Yes.
And I have been doing my notes. I dropped the ball on that the last like month or so. And then like writing out my affirmations. So like I just got the reminder today of like get back on Ninja as one of my tactics to get the listings in the buyers.
Yeah. So notes and affirmations is a like a 7 times a week or 5 times a week or however time you do it tactic. Mm-hmm. And then how else do you get, if you want 3 buyers, how else do you get 3 buyers? Like, do you do open houses? Do you have networking lunches with friends? Like, how do you get buyers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I wrote down a goal of like an ad goal from something that I've invested in that's going to be coming out next month. So hoping that reaps some results, and then definitely some lunches and like I wrote down like a networking event that I've been wanting to do for a while. And I social media, just like staying consistent. Yeah.
So you know your tactics.
Yeah.
All right, you just got to lay them out and do them.
Ninja was the one where I'm like, I needed the reminder today of like I've kind of dropped the ball on my Ninja practice and to get back on that. So I'm glad.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Who else has one they want to share? Janet, I don't want to give someone
Tracy
a chance.
has her.
Tracy?
Yeah. So my goal I've been thinking about it, and I actually called Jeremy Bravo and kind of brainstormed yesterday too with him. But so I'm thinking, and you could help me with this probably, is to I want to put systems in place for growth. Where are you, Zarina? I don't even see you on my screen. Oh, you have it turned. So by putting systems in place for growth, and then so like my tactics would be obviously the things that I need to be able to grow, right? So like I need to make sure that I know what I'm doing. Like, how am I time blocking? Am I using my phone? Am I, how am I setting reminders? Am I using my, reminder from Alexa sending me reminders, kind of thing.
You need to pick a system. Mm-hmm.
What's that?
You need to like pick a system.
Yeah, like, and I'm thinking for each one of these things, right? So like I need to have a clean database that I can pull on, because the faster than cleaner that is, the easier it is for me to keep on trucking along, right? If it's all in there, I don't have to go looking for stuff.
So cleaning your database is a tactic?
Yeah, for do you see what I'm trying to say? Like I want to set it up to where I have growth, but I don't want to work. Like my goal isn't necessarily like have a bunch more clients. It's just that I want to be able to stay on top of who I have, so that I feel like I can grow. Because right now I just feel like I'm to the limit of like I can't remember anything else.
You want to put some systems into place so that you're operating more efficiently.
Yes.
Okay. And so one of those is having an organized database and having a process to keep your database organized.
Yeah. And then also like, the reminders and then the time blocking, because like when you put up all of your tactics and stuff, it's in one ear out the other for me. I mean, I write it all down and then it's like, oh, okay, bye, it's gone. So I think I need to like put it into my calendar.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, here's the deal about you're urgent and you're important, but you're urgent tasks is that if they're not scheduled, they don't happen, because inevitably other stuff is going to come up that's important and urgent, or urgent and not important, and you're going to address that, right? So you have to block out the time to get these things done. So you need to knowing what your day is like, you need to just make an appointment. Like if you made an appointment with me, you would keep it, right? You wouldn't just not show up. So make an appointment with yourself and think of it as an appointment with this group or with me, right? That you're going to work on your database for, I don't know how much time you need. I don't want to tell you if it's, I need to work on my database for
Well, and it's
15
always
minutes a
like,
day. Or,
no, and it's always moving and changing, and it's constant. Like it always needs work. I mean, you could work on your database, I feel like, forever.
right. Well, I mean, once you have a system though, it's like I maybe your system is I spend 15 minutes a day doing my database, like before I go pick up the kids from school, or as soon as I get home from school, I make a coffee and I have an hour where I'm going to do emails, work on my database, write my notes, and then I can start doing like other work stuff, right?
Yeah.
So like make an appointment with yourself, and then you have to keep it like you would as if it were someone else. And just plan around it.
So I that's what, and then delegating is another portion of that.
Figuring out what is a tactic that can be delegated.
Yeah, like would be, so my tactic would be that I need to figure out and see what kind of things can be delegated in my business so that I can be free to meet or whatever, to be out there doing what I need to be doing.
Right. Okay, so maybe so do you have a tactic for that? Like figure out what needs to be delegated? What does that look like?
So, I mean, I already kind of started doing it as like my tactic is the delegating. So like I went through and like any marketing stuff, and like I want to create systems. I guess so that's what it comes down to, is creating systems.
Yes. So you need to decide what you want to create a system around and then go from there. And we can talk a little bit more about this specifically. Hold on. Why are you laughing?
I want to delegate all of it.
You're like, I'm going to win the lottery and hire people to do all of this stuff for me. So here's like a sample week, right? This is just one example. Can you guys see that? Am I sharing my screen? Yes, at home? Or are you still looking at each other? I can't hear anybody.
We can see it. We can see it.
Okay, yeah. So this is just like an example of like a calendar, right? Where you need to do like weekly client communication on Friday, so you block it out. You need to be making calls, so this person bunches their stuff. So they do like all their notes on one day, all their calls on one day. They prep for their real estate reviews. They block this time out. They're working on their business in the morning, and then the afternoon is free. Obviously, if an out-of-town buyer comes up for Friday, you have to take this chunk of time and move it somewhere else in your week. You have to move it to Saturday morning or Thursday afternoon. But the important thing is having it on your calendar so that you plan around it if you can. And if you absolutely can't plan around it because something urgent and important comes up, it gets moved and you don't just forget about it. Because that's what happens with our important but not urgent stuff, because no one's like nagging you for it. Does that make sense?
Shareable file.
Say that again?
Is that a shareable file?
Yeah, I can share it with you, of course. There's another one. This is another one. Let me make it bigger. This one's a little bit more intense. And he color codes, but he has like every single thing in his day like laid out. And this honestly is what my calendar looks like, to be honest. It's, can you see, like this is all of the things that I need to do. This doesn't have my personal stuff on there unless it's something that I'm really, really afraid I'm going to forget, like picking up Whitney. I have to put in my work calendar because I'm not always looking at my phone. But, I just block things out. And I have, I don't have it this week, but I had to do like I needed to get back to, I'm working on what every agent should know about insurance class. That's hopefully one of my CE classes that I'll get approved. Actually, I think that's one that I already have approved. I'm building the PowerPoint, and I have to get it done. So it had to be like I scheduled like a meeting with myself to get it done because I promised I would have it to him, right? And I just had to plan around it then. So I'll share the sample one with you guys, but I think maybe what would be helpful is if we did like the time blocking class just to walk you through, those of you guys that are thinking about that. I don't want to overwhelm you with classes or like bombard you, but there's all sorts of like theories and little hacks you can do to save your time, which at the end of the day is what this is all about, is like making sure that these things that are important to you like get done when there's all these other plates to keep spinning and balls to keep in the air. Does that make sense? Tracy, I would love to talk to you to help you like lay this out a little bit better. We can just set like a little appointment and do that if you want.
Yeah, I would love that because I'm even looking at my calendars in my Outlook right now, and I have like 6 different calendars in here, like a bunch of untitled.
Yeah, so you just need to do some clean. It sounds like you need like a cleanup.
Yeah, and I'm finally to the
process.
point where I was really, really busy, and now I've kind of slowed down, and I'm just ready to be able to work more efficiently because I want every client to feel like they're the only client, and that's really hard to do when you don't
more
have
than one.
everything right there. Yeah, and
Exactly.
thanks.
Yeah. Okay, guys, well, it's 3, so I don't want to keep you. But if you have something you want to talk about and stick around, or you want to set a time to visit, absolutely, I can do that. I don't have anything. I don't have to be anywhere right now. So if anyone still wants to just talk now, we can do that. But don't feel like you have to stick around. Don't ever feel like you have to stick around. But it's 3. I want to be respectful of your time, for sure. Jesse, I would love to connect with you too. Clay, what's up? Oh, you're saying bye. Okay, bye.
So I have like a different kind of goal. Well, I mean, I have a specific number, but I feel like we've been kind of stuck at a certain production, and I just want to like get to the next step. And I feel like too many tactics. Does that make sense? Like
You feel like you have what?
there's like too many tactics to like condense. I feel like I don't know how to put it into 12, you know?
Well, it doesn't have to be 12. It can be more than 12 if it's realistic for you to do them.
Well, it's not. That's the thing. Like, there's like so many things we've tried throughout the years that have produced results, but we've just kind of like we kept trying new things and we kept adding to the list. And now to scale those back and create a master list of like, I don't know, 12 or less that actually produce the best results. And I guess that's kind of
Do you
hard
know
process.
Do you know what did produce the best results for you, would you say? Or not really? Hard to say.
Like, I know some for sure, but the others, I'm like, I think they did. I'm not sure. But, you know, do I just put those aside for now? Do I just focus on the ones that I know have given the most results for these next 12 weeks? Or what do you think?
What I would do, because you guys have been in the business for a long time now, or relatively a long time, I would, especially because you've been trying different things, I would take the time to do like a real transaction audit of everywhere that your business has come from, because it's gonna, if you do, and basically what a transaction audit is, guys, this is one of the exercises in our business plan, and it's something that once you do it once, you only have to keep it current, right? And you can kind of look back, but you basically pull all of your here's the deal. There's however many of you left on this call. I don't want you being like, oh, now I have to do the transaction audit. Like if it has nothing to do with your goal, like just, you can listen, but like put this away. This is not something you need to be doing. But the transaction audit is an awesome way of going through like transaction by transaction and figuring out like, where did this really come from? Right? And don't just say sphere, and don't just say friend, and don't just say ad, like say specifically, don't say open house, like be really, really specific about where this person came from. And you'll start to see like, wow, like I've done 80 deals in my career, and I realized that 22 of them came from dinner parties that I hosted, or they were all my son's soccer team. I did this once with a Lakewood agent, and she had always said like, oh, I get all my business from my friends. And she was doing like all this stuff for all of her friends all the time. And then when she actually stopped and did it, she was like, I get all of my business from my law school friends, not like all of her friends. So, and I have an agent right now who she does a lot of client appreciation because that's where she gets her business is like referrals. But she's like, I know the people that give me business and I know the people that don't give me business, and the people that get me business are the ones that I invite. So she's very conscious of exactly where her transactions are coming from. So I think for you guys, Michaela, it may make sense to go through, and I have a little summary of like how to do a transaction audit that I can send you, but it might be really helpful at this point in your business to be like, man, those mixers we used to do, like that was half of our business. So it's going to remind you just of your deals and your clients and encourage you to check in with people, which will get you more business. But also like you do start to see patterns, and it will help you see like this was fruitful or this was not fruitful. Or, we've spent $18,000 on Zillow leads and we've closed one Zillow deal, right? Or you may be like, we spent $18,000 on Zillow leads and half of our business comes from Zillow. You just have to really drill down and see.
No, I think just because we want to figure out exactly, who to specifically focus on this year, because we're trying to condense things. Like our database was getting really big, but we want to pare it down to people who actually do refer business and, move the people who have done business with us but haven't referred anything, to a different list. So I think that's the tactics that I'm going to be working on these next 12 weeks is really condensing who our true, I'm going to call them of our business are, and really try to focus on them. Yeah,
that's awesome. I mean, they say, I always remember when I first joined the brand, maybe it was in my second or third year, and we had like a Texas networking event in Austin, and I listened to a panel of top producers talking about how they take care of their referral business. And each one of them they had, in terms of who their core database was, the range of people that they had in their database ranged from 100 to 500, but none of them had more than 500 people in their database. They were like, you just can't take care of that many people. Now, that doesn't mean you might have like more people on an email list, but their actual database that they're trying to truly like love on and connect with and network with and show appreciation to, the biggest one was 500, and most of them was between like 1 and 300. So you don't have to have a huge database if you have, who your core group is that's bringing you business. And one thing about the transaction audit is you might be like, well, we got 3 deals or 5 deals from this person, but they were all like $120,000 deals. And so you're like, is that a good referral? Is that not a good referral? If you're trying to like work less or more efficiently, increasing your average price point is one way to do that, right? Or maybe it's like, now it's time to bring on a team member that can take these $100,000 deals and help us with them. Those don't even really exist anymore, but you know what I mean? It's just doing the transaction audit like really puts you in the heart of your business and thinking about it. I'll send it to you, and we can talk too. Like if you're feeling overwhelmed with your task list, like let's just talk about it, and I can help you sort through it for sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Anyone else? Is this helpful? I feel like everyone looks a little bit like overwhelmed, but because it is a little bit overwhelming, but hopefully not, because we're just the hardest part is right now, which is like laying it out for ourselves. And once we can get that done, it's just chipping away. MC and Ashley used to make fun of me because I would say chip away at things. Yeah, so we just got to keep chipping away because we had like mountains and mountains of work. And I would always say, just keep chipping away. I think my grandpa said it or something. Anyway, Rosemary, did you have one?
Oh, if anything, I'm relating to how similar we are, that I think there is that mentality, and that's where I'm like tuning in. I'm like, there's going to be, little things that I hear that are going to help, because my goal is, looking and I'm realizing that I am getting referrals, that I am starting to create this brand, right, in Rockwall. Yet I'm trying to figure out, and I'll talk with you after, how to make that more measurable. Like I'm saying, like generate 1 new referral per month as Rosemary, the Rockwall real estate expert, with processes to implement marketing to both SIR agents as well as prospective buyers. So then I have it broken down like, well, I can't stand my headshot right now. I don't really have a great tool that I can quickly, like you said, like I feel like I'm pulling stuff together every time someone expresses interest. So it's like, put your systems in place, get a piece that each time you send to somebody, and then you personalize it, and, just take a Canva class. Hello, there's all these things, but right now it's hard to think about it because I'm busier than I've ever been. So meanwhile, in the back of my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to get my listing process in place. And I have all these Netris reminders buzzing me here and there that it's just like, so it's like the whole challenge of picking a goal. And that's what you're helping me do. Thank you.
Yep.
And like, because how many others did you do if you didn't just slow down and focus on that one? So I'm like listening and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is really hard to be like, I need a new listing process, but I also need to figure out what this system is to like communicate with people. And it's really hard to be like, I'm going to set the listing process aside and just focus on this, because then you're like, oh, I'm not making progress there. But realistically, if you have both of them on your plate, you're not going to make that much progress.
Well, and that's the thing. But I had a fear, quite frankly, of I already feel like I'm maxed out, and I'm hearing, like, was it Tracy saying, you know, we always want to make everybody feel like they're our only client, right? Mm-hmm. So suddenly I totally abandoned any exercise. I've, you know, like, I mean, my life is way out of whack, and I know that, and I recognize that. And then I keep saying, oh, just tomorrow, I'll get caught up, you know, if I do this, and I time block, and then it gets ripped out from underneath me because somebody says, can you list as soon as possible? So it's like, what?
Yeah.
So trying to just, like, but I'm almost in fear of getting more business right now, yet I know that my pipeline's going to dry. Like the ones I have right now, they're going to be gone. Mm-hmm. And then where will I be? So it's like keeping that balance.
Yeah. I mean, I guarantee you, if you can try to set aside like 30 minutes to an hour of a day to just do this, like you'll make yourself more efficient, right?
That's what I'm here. I'm like, I'm on the call.
Yep, you're doing it.
Yep.
Pick your hour, schedule it, make it happen. Yeah. And anyone else? No? Okay, well, if you need to connect with me after to talk about what this should look like, let's do it. I want to make sure you guys have good plans and good goals and good tactics, and you're in good shape so we can, and the week of Thanksgiving, we can celebrate. Okay. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.